What's up, y'all? Sander here. I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about all of the things on my mind that I'm working on and Carly's working on, and for Buhurt, and just generally like what's going on in my mind. So we're trying out this new gimbal here today, which is pretty cool. And it's trying to up our videography game so that we can get cooler shots in cooler places, and it'll follow my head so I can get things done and move around while we're on camera. I can look at this cool shit behind us, because like, why not? Why not make fun stuff? It's a little awkward at first, I'll tell you that much. I don't want to bother people, I don't want to be like that guy sitting on camera while someone's trying to hang out. But we're trying to find the balance where I can share things with people and enjoy the outside, find better places to sit than my car. So here we are, and if you're listening to this, I appreciate you taking the time to live through this awkward journey with me. But basically, Buhurt stuff. So I've been really invested in upcoming projects and ideas. They've just been in the forefront of my mind on every conversation all day long. Company the Pale Horse is still the number one Buhurt goal, and our goal with that is to be number one, and we're pushing as hard as we can in all the different ways we know how, and we're learning. All of us are learning separately, as well as trying to bring it together and discuss these things together. And that inherently has been the biggest thing in Buhurt, all things considered, because competing is my number one goal. I enjoy competing, and I do not want to live a Buhurt journey right now that doesn't include competing. I would say that, in the future, there's a world where we transition, but right now that is still my number one. So to get there, there's been a lot of different projects that have just felt correct. They felt good to do, and valuable to me, and valuable to Carly, and valuable to all of the people we've talked to in Buhurt, where, things like the Buhurt podcast, which we're talking about specific parts of Buhurt that are valuable, that are conversations you might not be able to have unless you're at an event. Conversations many of us take for granted, where we're getting the chance to sit down and talk to folks about something we love, and we get those long conversations. But the more we share online, the more ways you can consume that Buhurt content and enjoy that Buhurt content, because it's valuable, right? Those are conversations we all want to have. That's just how we look at it. We are trying to figure out ways that it can be better every day. That's our goal with any project we're working on, is improving in growth, and focusing on growth in general, because we want to do things better. It feels good to do things better, right? That's why I compete at Buhurt, because it's something that I can't just be good at automatically. It takes a lot of work. So bringing that energy into other things also feels good. So Buhurt podcast, we'd love to have you, reach out. How we've been talking to people is what's a topic that you feel like either an expert on, or that you could just be passionate and talk about for hours, and go from there. And we've been seeking out specific people, so it's good stuff. But next up, I'm working on clubs and kettlebell work, also our personal training going along with that. So Carly had already decided she wanted to work on personal training, and I was like, well, this seems pretty valuable to me too, after it just kept coming up over and over and over that we would need to do it for all the other projects that want to happen, and just people asking for advice. I want to do so safely, right? So getting the certifications, starting that training, that more formal training, feels correct, feels important, feels valuable. And because of that, the clubs and the kettlebell have felt like something I've been enjoying to share. So those things have been going in tandem, where, I'm learning how to do it. I'm focusing on the movements. I'm studying different content creators and different ways that kettlebells are used throughout, our social media and in workouts, and I want to study that type of thing as far as athletic science too. And all of that it goes hand in hand with helping people who are asking hey, I want to do clubs, hey, I want to do kettlebells. I want to not only be practicing it, but I want to make sure that it's something I'm studying. So that's another project, right? And, that project also inherently benefits my athleticism and my ability to fight, because what I'm looking for is something that works for me really well, right? Like, what type of fitness activity do I seek out? Do I enjoy? Do I value very high because it's effective, because I reach for it, again, like I'm enjoying it, right? So I'm finding myself more motivated intrinsically and externally, because externally it helps Buhurt, it helps, my daily life, it helps getting up, it helps picking things up, putting them down. Like, it is just more fun to exist because I've been moving heavy objects. And then in the trade, the moving heavy objects part is fun. So there's the value there too, where I'm learning that skill of throwing a kettlebell really effectively, such that it increases my muscle mass and cardiovascular, all the things. They don't all come to mind very quick, but they're all riding around up there. We're figuring that out though, because knowing more about the body is another way to basically hack your efficiency for like what you want to get done. Like, I want to be a good Buhurt fighter. I don't want to waste my time in the gym. I want to use my time in the gym effectively. So that's what I'm trying to do. So we're right now we're going through Mark Wildman's programming. I really like his training style. I've been enjoying having him as a remote coach, basically, in the sense of his videos give you everything you need, and then I've had the privilege of being able to reach out to him for small tidbits here and there. And he came out and showed us a couple of particular moves, like the deck squats that I would not have been able to do on my own very well. Like, I'd have to work through the progression a lot more, but he helped out and taught Spencer and I that. And Spencer, of course, for introducing me to Mark was a great opportunity for me to really elevate that kettlebell and club experience for myself. So I have more that I feel like I can share that's pretty specific to my journey, which is great. But talking about like where that club and kettlebell comes from, I'm doing the kettlebell swings program, which includes just a lot of heavy swings as an imam. We love swinging. Like, kettlebell swings are great. I could rant about those for hours. They're great. Then the clean and press is my heavy day. So that's the thing that feels the heaviest, the thing that is the hardest. The kettlebells and the swings, the kettlebell clean and press and the swings, I do back to back, Mondays and Wednesdays right now. And that is the hardest day I have in the morning. And then we're doing the single arm club program, which involves throwing patterns. It's across the body, which would be like a jab, and then outside the body, which would be like a sword swing or something like a throw. Throw comes across the body too and away from the body, but you're learning to throw heavy weights through different movements like the mill, the pendulum, inside circles, outside circles. All those different movements are really giving you that leg drive to throw heavy weights, which was cool because I talked to Danny George about that, who's one of the UK club runners out, the Northern Wolves Club, I think. Honor and Arms. Okay, I'm just zing words here. Boom. This is how my brain works sometimes. But so talking to him about clubs, he said he actually was using them out in the UK, and I thought how cool to find them in the wild for Buhurt, because I just haven't seen a lot of like heavy clubs for Buhurt folks. So if you're doing heavy clubs and somehow listening to this, I've met maybe 3 people, kettlebell clubs as their primary. And then the two-handed club is really just like strength in different places, like across the body. Right now it's not the specific one I want to be doing. There's a different program for BJJ rotational work where it's just more about grappling. It's more focused. And then the Body of Strength program, which is a two-handed club program, is an all-rounder. So it goes hand in hand with a clean-up press and the swing, but it's more the club version, if that makes sense. So like if you only wanted to do clubs, you could do that, but it's hard not to want to do swings. So they just feel so valuable for everything. But that one has a lot of, like, it's 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. You're moving the heavy club in various ways across the body, squatting, rolling, swinging, throwing, but like with a two-hander. So it's got a bit of that like two-handed axe type stuff. You notice more of that bilateral stimulation in like in your muscle groups. Like I'll notice my back left muscle group, which I'm still learning them, I promise. Sorry. When I'm coming out on the right, you'll notice that activates more with the two-handed club, and then translates to two-handed swinging. So far it's felt really good. And then the throws also help that too, but they're single arm, so you learn to throw it with that arm, and then the other arm guides it. So, and then deck squats, they just are squats that basically get you to not die, like to not do dumb shit when you're falling. It actually so far has worked really well. I already have a baseline for that just because of Buhurt and sports as a kid. Like I've fallen a lot, and I've hit my head a lot. But I've been really lucky to have learned that really young. My parents put me in sports really young, so I've learned how to fall and not hurt myself, which you still do, but it's about mitigating. So not hitting your head, really, really important. So when we're doing those deck squats, which I made a video, and hopefully you guys like it. When I'm doing those deck squats, they're for getting yourself up, putting with your squat muscles, right? Like I'm squatting down safely to get down with a heavy weight. I'm rolling and keeping myself strong with that heavy weight, and then as I'm standing back up, I'm going back into that squat and I'm firing those legs in an athletic way. So whenever I'm doing that in my day-to-day, getting up and getting down is nothing. I don't even think about it. Sometimes I have to be I don't want to get up, but my muscle group, no problem. We're never at issue. My hand, I'm not worried about hurting my hand or my wrist or anything like that, because I'm just I've been doing it a lot. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me, that's in the ways that it translates with the deck squats. And also you see leg development, I see just general athleticism development from that. But it's hard, but it's more fun, if that makes sense. I'm only doing maybe I'm doing 6x6s, or sometimes 7x6s, and then I take a 2-minute between each set of 6, right? So 2 to 5 sometimes, depending on the day, what I'm doing. So it's a fun activity. I recommend it. Just make sure you do it safely and progress. So all that being said, that is the main chunk of my my training, is those 5 programs: swings, clean and press, two-handed club, single arm club, deck squats. And I'm doing those twice a week. So I like I said, I pair swing and clean and press together, and then everything else I just do either in the evening, in the morning, and then I don't do it on the same day. So those are 2 to 3 year long programs. They just keep going, which is great. You can theoretically get through some of them with a single weight pretty quick, but the goal is not to do it with a single weight. The goal is to do the skill, get stronger, do it safer. You do it at a lighter weight to get safer, and you move your way up to heavier weight. And that's where you progress. You're always progressing, which for my ADHD and just generally for how I like to figure things out, knowing there's an end goal and knowing how to get there, huge. So that's fitness product, goal, fitness, self-product goals. I don't know, what I want to get out of it, right? But I was, saying about the couple different things that I'm working on, right? So the final thing that I'm working on is kind of the bigger piece here, as far as a change in my life, which I think it will. We're gonna, we have a lot of goals there. So basically, I want to find more ways to transform people into Buhurt fighters. I believe that the intensive transformative model is one of the best ways for us to do this. And I think that we're really untapped here. So there's the couch to hero. I heard a little bit about, I got to do some more research into it, but it's couch to 5K, right? And then there's I've seen Steel Vinyasa, stuff like that. I've actually been talking to Summer about this stuff, and I really think that the style of sale that she has is really valuable. I think it'll really work for people who are looking for a more intense, full experience that is 12 weeks in length, takes all of somebody's time, all of my time to coach, and I'm coaching a group of 8 to 20 people online through like daily classes and through topics that we're working on week in, week out. And the goal would be saying like, hey, like I want to go from wherever you are to Buhurt, right? And in 12 weeks, you won't have a kit. In 12 weeks, you won't necessarily be able to fight per se, but like 12 weeks of learning all the skills of how to train and and what to learn and what to research, and here's the framework, here's the path, now go. In 12 months time, that person is fighting at full force, a whole year of conditioning ahead of where they would have been if they just walked in the gates wanting to fight. And a lot of people do, right? And that's fine too, but maybe people don't have a place to do that, or maybe they have the time, maybe they have the time to make the transformative experience. Like in reality, it's a model that works for many other forms of transformative experiences. And really it's about like giving people the opportunity to say, yes, I can deep dive into this, right? Because like I tried, you know, like there are ways to say like, oh, I can't do this, like I can't be a Buhurt fighter, but giving people the path, saying I can get you from not Buhurt fighter to Buhurt fighter, people don't even know that exists. A lot of people don't think they can fight. Yes, all of us in the community, we all say like, yes, absolutely, you can fight. And everybody at any body like puts in the time, puts on the armor, puts in the reps, puts in the training, puts in the sword fighting. I assure you, like Buhurt is an inclusive sport. Like that is its goal as well, is to be very inclusive. But not everybody knows that unless they're on the inside. They've already walked into a Buhurt club. But if they see MMA, they see, you know, like us fighting out in the woods or something or whatever we're doing, they see a tournament, you know, as we get bigger, especially because we're getting bigger. Buhurt is getting huge. People will look at that and say, oh, I can't do that. You know, I was at AMMA, and I thank you for the opportunity to fight. It was a wonderful experience. But I was at AMMA, I had my fight, I went out into the crowd, and everybody wanted a signature. It was so cool. Everybody wanted a signature. I talked to anybody I could, you know, just like I would at a regular Buhurt event. I was like trying to, like, oh yeah, I'll sign your poster, little kid, you know. It was awesome. I loved it. Thank you. It was so cool. But I talked to people. I was like, hey, why don't you do it? You know, and they're like, oh, no way. Like, it's not possible. Like, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that. And then I would have a couple people that'd be like, ooh. But like, as we get more reach, we need more people talking to anybody, you know, about here's a product, right? And talking it in like packaged form, right? Because like what's really important is if we're talking like this doesn't get to your average person. This doesn't get to the common person. And I don't mean like common as in common, we're not common. I'm common to a lot of people, but the person that is just like, oh, look at that cool thing, a cool medieval combat over there, right? Like, we want to have a product that says, here is how you get to being an armored combat fighter, right? Like, we don't have dojos, really, like everywhere else. We don't have, like thanks to the few that we do, but that we have private clubs that people have to take the plunge, you know? We have a couple of clubs that you pay for, but, like, having that online transformative experience that, again, we've seen works like in different avenues, right, is another proof that it is possible. And the more proof that we give to people that medieval armored combat is possible, the more avenues that people have to go from I'm not a Buhurt fighter and I didn't even think that was possible to I am a Buhurt fighter and I fight and I do one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire life every week, every month, you know. Like, that is what I want people to know is possible, because that is the types of stuff that's transformative. And giving people that avenue, I think, is one of the most important ways, you know. And I'm really invested. I'm really excited. Like, to me, like, this just feels like what I should be doing. And I want to make sure that, like, people are kind of there with me, because, like, sometimes I just go, like, I just start working on something. I mean, I've lost friends for it, you know, where like my brain and my body are just chasing these big goals, and I'm finding myself succeed all the time in those things. But like, it hurts, you know, like sometimes to not have the opportunity to share. these things that are changing, or that like these ideas, and and like Carly will listen to me all day, obviously, which is great. We love that. But but I also want to be able to talk to the folks that are curious but might not ask, or might not have the place to ask, or I might not give them the time of day to ask, because unfortunately I'm all over the place. So I think there's so much to talk about Buhurt all the time, and I think that Buhurt is something I am more than happy to make into a career and into a life in many different ways, as I already have. I'm 5 years in. I see no point in stopping. I see no desire in stopping. I mean, there's so many things people need, and so many solutions we can support people in, and so many journeys to follow, and so many fights to be had. I mean, that's not even like, those are all the non-fighting things. Like, there's so many things I want to do. Pale horse isn't number one yet, so there ain't no stopping. But like, that's the thing, is like, those are all on my mind, and finding avenues to hopefully share with people who are curious. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to talk to me more about any of those projects, I really am looking for my voice on them, I guess I could say. It's like I'm practicing them by sharing, because those journeys feel really concrete in my mind, but I'm trying to help them get out. So please let me know if there's anything on your mind about what I said. Peace.